In fact, it's kind of good and bad. You're not going to see a real EVA, but we'll take you back here and you'll be able to see us configured to go EVA. The Bipster's full of.
Well, the truth is, I'm actually in kind of ways more interested in what you do about it than.
Okay.
That's unmanageable to me right now, because I'm not going to be right about that right this minute. Not.
Okay.
But this, I'd like to see what you guys are doing to make all that happen.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's exactly
So I would like to introduce.
Oh, okay. Hello. Hi. I'm Joy. Lovely to meet you. Hi.
Patricia likes to, hello. Patricia likes to have video of what she's been learning for references purposes. So
Get it all transcribed, because you guys talk too fast and use
Will you
really
be doing
big
the
words.
You'll be doing the most talking?
Probably these two, actually. One of these two.
Ah, okay.
everybody
Okay,
follows your
so start with this. So if I could just give you...
You know, we give it to the one wearing the NASA pin, and now you won't wear that to work ever again.
Just talking to Lisa Schilder. If we have
Good. How you doing?
Yeah, they come at you right when you walk in.
Yeah, no, that,
like being at the front of the conference.
I didn't realize there are a lot of, okay, dumb question, are a lot of these EVAs, are they strictly because there's something they need to do? It isn't just because they want to walk in space.
It's a balance. Sometimes we're we joked about when ISS was finished assembly and after the last shuttle flight, we're kind of like, hey, it's done. And this we were joking about. We thought it was going to be serious, a quiescent period. Things are going to slow down. I was worried about this team, coming on and getting bored because we only do one EVA a year. It's turned out between systems having problems and just new things coming up on station. We really have kind of continued a certain amount of assembly. One time we moved a bunch of stuff around, and that caused a bunch of EVA work. We've added new equipment on board. Art does a lot of our development work, where if somebody comes in and says, hey, we need an EVA to put this experiment outside, Art's like, he leads the team that goes out and actually does the NBL, the dives to see where does this thing go, how do we get to it, how do we plug it in, all those. So we haven't had really that quiescent period. It's actually ramped up instead of, it ramped down after shuttle, but now it's ramped back up. We did 9 EVAs last year, which is the most we've done since shuttle. And we're on the books to do about 9 this year. So
one thing that's kind of interesting on some of the new EVAs, a lot of it is getting Wi-Fi on the outside of the space station. So kind of like what we're doing on the ground here, everyone needs to get more Wi-Fi.
So when the email's not going well in there, you say, put your suit on, buddy. It's your turn this time.
Well, we're hoping to get suit data too. That's one thing we don't have. Suit, we can get video down, hopefully high def video through the Wi-Fi, and get suit data through the Wi-Fi.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
you'll probably be surprised how we have. It's amazing. I'm fairly new to the group. These guys have been in it for a long time. I've been in 7 years in February, 6 years starting myself. But the suit is kind of a little bit of a mechanical marvel still. It's not as high. You see a lot of the Martian and stuff, the suits they have on there. We don't have a ton of telemetry coming down from the suit, so we have to find clever ways to make that work. Figure out, okay, this says this says this. What's going on in between?
Are you in the process of developing new suits?
Yes, in fact, Lisa's our
Do you use smart materials and all like the cool stuff that you're 3D printing and have sensors in them and all that?
Not initially, because they got this thing TRL technology readiness level, and they want to be at a level that they know it's actually going to work for the first round. So we're kind of starting off with.
Plus, you got to worry about space debris now. You've got your new little catcher thing up there, right? It's catching.
Well, they're
some of
talking
the
about it.
samples.
Yeah, they're talking. Yeah. We've got several things we're taking, bring samples back down and study what hit them and what impacts were. But when we go out, so we have a toolbox outside, and it impressed me when we went out one time, and the sun just hit it just right. They have flat panels in the toolbox, and there's dings all over that toolbox. So there's stuff up
There's
there.
screw holes in there.
One of the astronauts
Jeez, that's scary.
first noticed it, they said it looked like we got shot with a shotgun.
Oh my God.
So
Well, see, that's what you worry about, because no suit's going to withstand that, is it?
we have good, well,
We do have a forecast that's predicted for each time we go out, and if it looks like it's going to be particularly bad for some reason. So that's with radiation, all kinds of
and we work with Space Command for tracking all that. They'll tell
Just
us
a
if
different
there's
kind of
bad
weather
stuff going on.
reports you have to give them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
radiation
The suit is
report,
built to be able to
MMOD
handle-
report. Yeah.
MMOD is, let us know we use
Micrometeorite orbital.
Yeah, we'll use acronyms like crazy. I'm not sure how much research you've done now, and then it'll stop us and go, what's that mean?
I will.
But
I ask, because even if I've heard it, I'm not going to remember what half these acronyms mean.
right. But you mentioned the suit does have a capability to take a certain amount of hole in it. It can take a 4 millimeter, I think. What's the size that
We don't do like
Don't
eighth
do
of an
millimeters?
inch, eighth of an inch hole, which is pretty tiny.
think I converted
And
mine.
beyond that, our makeup oxygen reserve can't
We have for about
keep
we
the suit
have some
pressurized.
dedicated canisters in the suit that will start pumping oxygen in if it's the pressure drop.
And then you hit your safer and get home
Well,
quick
the-
if you
the-
can.
Hopefully not.
Safer.
Well, you shouldn't
Hopefully
need
you're
the
not on
safer.
station.
You just-
Hopefully you
Yeah.
just
Get your tether and
back
go.
really quickly.
Yeah, there
right.
you go. It's a really bad day if you got a hole and you're off the structure and you got to
God.
use sapers. That would be it.
So that
That'd be a
whole we
super
do it
bad
for
day.
30 minutes.
Yeah,
time frame.
minimum. Yeah.
So there is some safety measures to allow for that. Luckily, knock on wood, we haven't seen that.
How do you
yet, so.
repair a suit up there if you ever had that happen?
Not a hole in the suit, but we've had to repair the backpack a fair amount of times, so we've had some problems with that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
but if you had a hole, I mean, most of the places that are vulnerable, your arms, your legs, your boots, gloves, we had extras. So we would just take out an arm segment and put in a new arm segment if you found a leak. We've never actually found a hole in the bladder while we were up there, but we have any of our leaks that we failed has turned out to be like a hair, literally a hair across the
on the
seal or a
seal.
thread across the seal.
They failed
Wow.
to leak check
Go in there
recently
and
because it had a
yeah.
hair on the seal of it.
We had like our cooling garment got stuck in the waist brief, so you just take your pants off, you put them back on again, and
We do all the checks before they go out, so we have
right,
never seen a leak
right.
once they're
I would
outside.
hope
Yes,
so.
we have never had a leak outside. Knock on wood.
Well, Jeannie, you want to?
We are with you for a few hours. So
Okay. What do you guys think?
Is there anybody in the mixer? I mean, we can go to the mixer.
we can go check.
Yeah, let's go check, see if there's anybody in the mixer. 'Cause
And we ought to use the term mixer.
multi-purpose support room, the back room.
Yeah, I'll call it a back.
Yeah,
It's
back
one
room.
of these acronyms that
Multi-purpose
somebody
support.
made years ago, and we continue to use it, and it makes no sense. Because multi-purpose support room, we call it the back room. You'll hear us refer to it all the time because we have a front room where that's the main manager of the EVA. Like for this past one with Sarah Corona, and she's going to do probably in February when we do this catch up with that. But
The front room's what you know is the MCC
Yes.
on TV. That's the mixer. They're the picker.
we'll take you by the viewing
control
room so you can see the MCC, the main room, the front room. But we'll take you up to the back room because that's where whoever's supporting from the front room has a team. A lot of people think they're there by themselves, but they actually have a team in the back helping them. We actually break it up into tasks, like what we're doing outside, and systems people watching the suit. And it's kind of fun right now because we were doing this arm stuff. So when we bring in, we want to have everything at fingertip when we do the EVA. So we're bringing all kinds of hardware in the MIPSR to make sure we got a suit back there. We have 2 end effectors, I think, back there, mock-ups right now.
Yeah, there's one higher file, one
Yeah,
lower
so there's all kinds of equipment back there. So if something goes wrong, and it really paid valuable on a recent EVA, we went out and we lost a pad that we were supposed to cover one of the ends. It was actually a micrometeor shield pad and also a thermal pad. Where a crew member, because of some mistakes on the ground, we found out later about the way we identified a tether point. They tethered to it, but it wasn't really a tether point. It was actually a strap. So next thing you know, it floated away. Well, immediately
It was the one astronaut that floated away.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well,
Right.
what happened was we had taken another cover off something else earlier in EVA. Well, we had that cover in the back room. So within about an hour, the team figured out how to use that cover to make up for that thing we just lost. So it was one of those real time. If we hadn't had that cover, we'd never been able to figure out how to do that so fast.
Got to have a little MacGyver mixed
Yes.
in there,
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you?
It's
There's a
ton
lot of
of
MacGyver.
You got to be
happens.
totally flexible and creative up there, don't you?
Our group especially, all of our area, the division we're in, it does a lot of the crew interaction, crew training type stuff. Like we have essentially we do EVA, we have an IV group, the OSO group, and we always score high in innovation on our teams when they're surveyed because it's that Apollo 13 scene where it says make this work with this with what they throw on the table because that's what they have on orbit. So that happens a fair amount for us. You come in one day and you think you've got your whole schedule laid out, and they're like, no, we need to figure out how to do this for next week. So that kind of thing. So it's a lot of very fun, sometimes drive you crazy because things are changing every day, but it's also you don't do the same thing every day, so it's very fun.
So EVAs are supposed to have a real purpose usually. Then even if the astronauts really want to do it, there's got to be a good reason because it is a big risk.
It's a risky, like I always tell these guys, from the safety guys, they will tell you besides ascent and entry, EVA is the next highest risk thing if you look at probabilities.
We have about 6.5 hours of consumables on the suit, and so if we only have 2 hours worth of things to do, it's not really worth going out. You want to fill it all the way up so that you make the use of that time because the biggest risk is just getting out the door. And so once you've done that, you want to fill up that time.
Unless you're Peggy Whitson and then she does 8 hours in 3.
Right.
Right? And then she goes, now you just wasted all that space, but now I've heard about it. But I've heard her reputation precedes her, doesn't it, right?
Yes.
You were the one that told me that.
Yes, Peggy's a beast.
Yeah, she's hard to keep up with.
Right.
So.
But if we're going out for our contingency EVAs, I mean, if we have a specific thing that needs to be fixed and it only takes 4 hours, then we usually, we're trying to get out the door as fast as we can so we don't waste time usually trying to fill it.
Sometimes we'll do a shorter.
And you're having to line up where something is in its orbit, what your detectors on the ground are picking out about debris that could hit. You got to factor in an incredible amount of things to line this up just right, don't you?
There are other groups that do that stuff and give us a report. We have what's called a readiness review before the EVA. We go, okay, this is the date we've picked. We think it's going to work, but then there's people that do all this research and tell us what the risk is of any of these type of things.
What's your plasma forecast? What's your MMOD forecast? What's your radiation forecast?
We actually have some people go out and analyze the station for the time we're outside, where the hot spots are, because there's a touch temperature that you can't see, but there's also a constant contact kind of thing. If you lean up against something that's over a certain temperature, you can actually damage the suit. So,
But it's hard to lean up against something in space,
Yeah.
luckily.
Yeah.